We have here with us Amandeep Singh and Sher Singh. And I would just ask each of you, when September 11th, 2001 happened, how long had each of you been in the United States?
I had been in the United States about 10, I want to say about 10 or 12 years.
And Amandeep?
I was pretty new, only couple years.
Okay. And did you both have lawful status in the United States?
Yes.
Okay. And if you can just in general terms, tell us what is it, first Sher Singh, what is it that motivated you to come to the United States around 1990, give or take?
So we had a family-based immigration happening from my grandparents onwards. So as we decided, as my parents decided, and we were at certain stage of their work and my schooling and my sister's schooling. So we had to finish that. Obviously looking for we were a middle-class family back in India, happy, doing well. I knew my maternal side family was already getting settled for the last about 50 years in the United States. And they had been calling upon us to move. And we were at that point, either I was going to make myself permanent in doing my career and finish my schooling in India, or make a decision. I was at that point before I turned 21 to decide, hey, this is the time to move for better schooling and a better future.
Okay. And Amandeep, briefly, if you can tell us, what is it that urged you on to come to the United States?
Yes, pretty much similar thought. And basically, America is a land of opportunities, we all know. So for better future and better opportunities. So I came here I got my job here. So like every software engineer was coming in 90s to US. So I am a software engineer. So I came here on H-1B visa in 99. And I got a job here. So that was my reason to come here.
Understood. Now, September 11th of 2001 was a day that no one will forget. And where were each of you at the point in time that you first became aware that there have been multiple attacks around the United States? Where were you physically?
I was at work. We were a new startup company I was part of. And it was a regular day at work. And it's the morning, and you would walk around, and there was TVs out in the reception. That's when I saw that happening. Didn't really know what was going on. Kind of thought it was like somewhere else. But then as we started seeing it, it was happening. I can't exactly remember if I glued myself and stayed or said, put my mind back. Something really bad has happened. So I usually just focus on what is positive for a moment and let that in my mind kind of settle when I go back and read the news. So I think I went back and started, doing what I was working on.
And where is it that you physically were? What city, what state, what location?
I was in Massachusetts. I think it was Westboro.
Okay. And you, Amandeep, where were you on September 11th?
Yeah, I remember it. I was driving to my work in Mansfield, Massachusetts. So I used to work at Motorola at that time. So around 9 o'clock, I think, I was driving to my work, and I was listening to the radio, the Providence radio. And then briefly they interrupted and they announced the planes crashed into the Twin Towers. So I didn't think much of it, but it was ominous to me that time. So as the day progressed, actually, We got an email from our corporation when I saw about the attacks. That's when I really learned the gravity of the situation. Then it was all over the news.
Now, at some point the next day, September 12th, you, Sher Singh, decided to get on a train. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And where were you, in Boston?
I was in Boston, yes. I was on my way back home to DC because I was commuting. I would
Yeah.
do a week in and a week back back at home in DC, in the DC area. I was in Virginia.
But in your mind, getting on the train in Boston, was there any fear in your mind about getting on a train, the way that the Sikhs would traditionally garb themselves and carry themselves? Was there any fear in your mind as you boarded that train?
At some level, there was, but I didn't think, and it was right from, I think I took a bus, a commuter bus to the train station. So it was, I felt all the way, it was an early morning train, so early morning bus. I think it was still dark when I left. So it was, yeah, it was in the back of my mind. And yes, people were, just more curiously looking than normal at me. And people had suggested me to consider not going in public transportation. I didn't think we would. I didn't think something like this could happen, but unfortunately, there was that coincidence going on, and but yes, yeah, all in the train and watching. I mean, there were times where I felt it was normal, but then at times, obviously, the people were quiet. There wasn't like a lot of talking going on like normal, unless you knew someone. So
yeah. Well, and I don't mean to intrude upon any type of feelings that you may have had that may be still personal in nature, but I've read all the newspaper articles here in Providence I get my hands on, and you really faced quite an emotional onslaught of verbal and even offerings of verbally to do harm to you when you came into Providence. As much as you want to talk about it, and you're the only guy that can do it, do you want to tell us what is it that happened in Providence when the train stopped here?
So it was strange. The train stopped for a long time. I can't remember what the reason, if there was anything announced. Then we saw just, I think it was plain clothes people just walking and checking something. Then I think police officers came. Then specifically a couple more came, and they drew their guns out at me and asked me to get up and asked me to raise my hands up and step out and walk out or something. I was absolutely blown by that feeling, and I just didn't say anything. Obviously, it was okay. You got to follow what they're trying to do, and obviously people looking as you're going and kind of maybe making some assumptions in their minds. But I mean, I was doing, and I mean, I had my normal whatever bag I had. I was traveling. I didn't have a lot of luggage. Talking with my co-passengers, and so I mean, and then obviously outside with the there was some asked me some questions, find out what, get my ID and all those things, and so that's where they kind of asked me questions. They kind of didn't believe what I was saying. Wanted to further investigate, and I was so I'm a baptized Sikh, and I was wearing my kirpan, and I kind of explained to them what it was before they even searched me, and I kind of showed it to them. This is what we wear, and explained what it is, and because I knew that is often a not well known, and people could consider it as a weapon or as a for those kind of things. But I tried to explain what, and it obviously had my IDs, my previous work experience, my contacts, and everything. I mean, everything was with me that proved who I was and where I had been, what my status was. I think might even had my passport with me. I can't remember, but I had all my IDs with me. And obviously, they when they kind of did their thinking, and they thought, well, we have to charge, we have to make something. There was a lot of it seemed like there was a lot of pressure to act upon something, not to think rationally, and that the whole atmosphere was very kind of I want to say media, kind of sensitized by this by the media, or just sensitized by the atmosphere there. I mean, they were other Asian and South Asian descent people also traveling. They were also asked questions. They were then let go, and I was then arrested at that point and taken with the police to their police station. So obviously on the way and while walking out of through the train station or out, I could see people who were lining up, and I could hear people swearing, and I could hear people kind of giving me very, very rude, very stares. Obviously they didn't know better what was going on, and the police and the law enforcement was, again, I felt they felt that they had to do something to get to that point, to prove a point, and that's what they did. I felt they could have really been understand the situation and differentiate between hype and practice, and but anyway.
Did you hear threats such as kill him, terrorist, aggressive language like that as you were being escorted?
Yes.
Okay. And did you travel with any other Sikhs on that train ride from Boston back towards Washington, D.C.?
So it happened. There was another Sikh gentleman who was traveling. I'd never met this young man before. Seemed like I think a college student, I want to say. And I don't remember his name anymore, but he was there, and I just obviously got into conversations with him, and we were going on the same train, and it's just conversations were sparking. Not no one else.
Okay. Did any of your Sikh acquaintances from Massachusetts intervene later on during that incident? Did they come down? What happened?
So after I want to say I can't remember who advised me, or maybe even by the time, my understanding is that my family had through our family an attorney, and my uncle who was an attorney found out on his network, who was a good lawyer, and already contacted Mark LaRoche, and I think my wife had spoken to him, and I think when he was coming, or he came and met me, I think I met him one time, and then met in front of the judge who came for the I don't know what it's called, some kind of special bail. So at that point, I think Mark had told me that the Sikh community in Boston and Massachusetts also had contacted him, or also were heading down there, and also were offering many kinds of help. And obviously they were there when I got out finally after that. They were there as our family, as a family, to help me get me back home safely.
Your ordeal in Providence lasted about 2 or 3 months until the case was finally dismissed. Is that pretty close to accurate?
That's correct. And
you made a decision, which I found very curious. You decided that you were not going to sue the city of Providence or the Providence Police Department or Amtrak. Is that true?
I I didn't even like think that there was I mean, that thought didn't come that I would sue or not sue. It just not in my thinking. Uh, I obviously understood the gravity of everything that was going on. I was hurt by by what was going on, but I was also uh, thankful to the understanding of others. I think the Commonwealth Attorney General um, and others who spoke up and were able to make the decision, and obviously Mark LaRoche, who spoke for me and um, helped me. So I was very thankful to that. So I was glad that um, the happiest moment for everything was when everything was over. I was respectfully given my Katpan back. That was the happiest moment of all, right? And because that's a part of me, that's like my hand or my, it's like, so, um, so that thought never came. And even if it would have come, it's not, I mean, I am, this land is, I owe my affinity, and I owe my, a lot to this land. So I think I'm good. I mean, we have all to learn to forgive, and all have to learn from those experiences, and take the positive. I don't think there was that much damage that we can't repair. Um, I think I would have probably done more damage if I would have, kept it going and just hurt the the nation building aspect. I think it was better spent by making positive effects and reaching out and interfaith activities. And a couple of times with the Quaker community, I had an opportunity for I think there was a conference a few months later. I come down to Providence for that. And other activities. I think those were much more important in time spent than going after someone or a city.
Sher Singh, on September 11th, were you cleared by the U.S. government at a higher level security position as a result of your work? Did you have security clearances?
I did not have a security clearance at that time.
Okay.
About I want to say about 6 to 9 months later, I was in a position that required a security clearance, and I was able to obtain the security clearance. And they were they were questions in there going up to 7 years, and you have to explain everything and open everything. So they were adjudication was done. They were interviews, and like in any course. I mean, I've had a security clearance now for almost 19 years now, and I've given at a very high level security clearances helped kind of spoke for other people. So I think that process is very fair and making that judgment. I think that process does not look at these does not look at any bias from without any that doesn't hold any legal ground.
You have a very distinctive dress. You have a distinctive accoutrements. You speak perfect English. How does the United States society at large accept the Sikhs today as compared to what you observed and felt back in 2001? If you can even answer that question.
I think overall American society is very welcoming. And I didn't get time before September 11. I was here like couple years. Again, I mean, I did not see any hate or any kind of like, obviously people will look at your turban and they will think you are an Arab. That was the misunderstanding. And then, but after September 11th, things changed drastically. And immediately, like people will start looking and look at like Osama bin Laden or a terrorist kind of, but still they have a perception that we are from Arab countries, we are Arabs. So that is the main. Obviously, it's like we also like need to educate better. Like in general, the society is very welcoming, but the things changed after September 11th drastically. And even now, actually, down the road, things are changed more and drastically.
I just want to clarify, Amandeep, did you mean things have changed for the better or the worse?
I'm saying it's for the worse.
I guess I always look at the glass half full. So I think a good portion of the population, certainly more than a single digit percentage, I would say if we were in the single digits of people having awareness, I think we're at least in the 20%, 30% percentile of people understanding, knowing who Sikhs are. And I think there's still easily getting to above 50%. Continue the there's several documentaries and videos and activities and where Sikhs are represented, and in interfaith activities and in political positions or governmental positions, which helps when you're in a leadership position or reaching out in a community position where people recognize you. So I think again, I look at it half full, and it's better. I mean, there's it's irony of all of this is 20 years ago, and then look at what's happening in Afghanistan right now. Is the irony is that we might have to go back and do something, or repeat some things. We'll have to repeat. So this is very important that we're learning what has worked and what has not worked. Obviously, keep working and improve on what has worked to build community relationships and make our country more secure and more diverse and more accepting and stronger from a fabric, and not just talk the talk as Americans, really walk the walk, as walk together, treat everyone equally, and that's when we're all in it. That's when we're all gonna fight together. That's when we're all gonna stand up for each other.
This question may be something that is difficult to answer, but as I did, and I've had a lot of immigrant clients. I do a lot of immigration work and things of that sort. And it seems as though the studies say that the immigrant community in general commits crimes at a far lesser rate than does our own homegrown population. I believe that to be true even more so in the case of Sikhs. Do you know what the incidence is of criminal activity as a nationwide analytical point for Sikhs? How many Sikhs, if any, get charged with crimes?
I don't know the numbers, Bob, but just knowing our community and how for centuries we have been in either in law enforcement or in the military tradition of the land wherever we live, and knowing that our whole identity is about the protector, the person someone should come up for help. Someone can be confident that this person will help me, or this community is open, is just tells us that we that is something, because that's what we tell our children always. Your identity is very unique, because we have to make them feel strong and stay in it's not the outer identity. The outer identity is strong if the inner identity is strong, if the inner belief systems are strong. So we have to keep telling them that this, the kara that you wear or the hair that you have. It's all a part of building your personality and your psyche, where you are a person that you can be trusted. You're a person who will stand up for somebody who needs help, fight for somebody's rights, help with that. And the pandemic has shown Sikhs, have done so much with our help, and work with so many other in groups to do things. So I think, again, and every opportunity Sikhs are getting to be a part of the U.S. military or the law enforcement agencies in different states and counties. We're really encouraging our youth to go into those. So
I think it's even broader than that from what I read, and I'm not an expert, but Amandeep, I think there's a belief that you have to give back to the community, not just as a police officer or as a military individual, but the trying to reach Sher Singh on the phone. He was involved in any number of different community activities, some through the Sikh down there in Washington, D.C. area, but others non-religious in nature. Is that the way it is in the Sikh community? Community service is an expected value, that you have to serve the community as well?
Yeah, it is well said, Sher Singh. I totally agree. So the way we were raised, actually, the community service, or like fighting for injustice for others, living honest life, working hard, honestly, working honestly. So that was like our core beliefs that we were taught when we were growing up in India. So that's what we're trying to teach our kids here also. And I agree, giving back to community is at the foremost. So what usually we do is we go to our Gurdwara, which is equivalent to your church. Every Sunday, we have this a community meal, which is free, and people come eat that community meal. It doesn't matter if they're Sikh or from any other religion. So everybody is welcome, and they sit on the floor, actually, not on the chairs, because that's what our guru or our teachers told us. So everybody should be treated equal. So that's what we try to teach our kids. But it is very important to engage outside our community. So usually they say Sikhs or any other community, they are like into themselves, right? So I think there's something we have to come out and get out and do that. But there's a lot of Sikh organizations, like you said, in the pandemic time, they're trying to work on the global level. And this is the example of Khalsa Aid of England, UK. It helps everywhere in the world, wherever is a disaster. So that's here also we are involved with interfaith activities in Central MA and Boston area. Not in Providence so much, because I think there's not a large Sikh population there. But I was involved in Providence area at the Indian community events. Sometimes when I used to live around that area. I really like Providence area very much, because that's where I came. My first job was in Mansfield. It's very near to Providence. So that's what we're trying to do. But I think we need to do more on that level.
I just wanted to get a general feeling what this 20 years later means to you. How do you feel about the way you and the community from which you come has been treated in the last 20 years?
So we're a minority. So even if few incidents happen, they are, we know about them. It's almost, you know the person who it happened to, right? So you're aware of those things. So I think because of how resilient and how how we face these things and how we kind of get through them. We don't remain stuck in that position or in that mentality, and we like to move up, walk forward and do the next right thing, not just forget and learn from the past and learn and move forward. I feel, again, the outreach and interfaith activities and working with various organizations and people realizing, the Sikh community realizing what Amandeep just said, is reaching out is as important as working within your communities and going in and taking roles that you are good in maybe in your business, but taking a facing a role where people see you more, and you do your dealings as a lawyer or as a doctor or as a shopkeeper, but you're also being looked as a person who belongs here in that community, and then that feeling helps, that reduces those barriers of understanding, and I feel the 20 years have helped. To me, that 20 years have helped, and obviously a lot of things just in the last 2 years have kind of changed how we have lived, and we almost forgotten the last, in my personal mind, I don't really remember 9/11 specifically, because Sikhs have had in previous incidents have been part of a country or have been where we were originally, or Sikhs are in India as well, have gone through 1984, the riots. We've gone through the partition. We've gone through the Mughal rule. We've gone through the Afghan rule. Sikhs, one of the only communities that have actually ruled Afghanistan are the Sikhs, who have been, and have ruled them happily, and people have happily lived there. Because we are good rulers, we are good leaders, we are good law enforcement, we are good administrators. So again, I believe that if we continue to build relationships and continue to educate people and compete, and so if we help the Black movement, you're helping the Sikhs. If you help the Afghans, you're helping the Sikhs. So you help, because that feeling will, and if Quakers are doing something to help to bring about awareness of what is wrong and what is right, you're helping the Black people, because you're helping people get over, thinking of everyone in compartments as different and not as equal. So I think these 20 years have helped, because we came through a big, 9/11 was a big thing. We had to come out of it over time. And the way we came out of it was, slowly integrating and slowly recognizing and respecting that diversity.
Steve, if there's some question that I've forgotten that you think is particularly important, or?
One thing did cross my mind to ask, not related to this event so much, and I could look it up online, but I would rather ask somebody that I've now had a conversation with and gotten to know a little bit. So my understanding is that your tradition is 500 or so years old. And could you, either of you or both of you, give us just the short background of where its place in history is? What traditions did it come from? And what made it different that the group wanted to leave whatever tradition it came from, or did it really sort of develop completely differently? I know the Quakers, for instance, were founded by people who started to feel like the notion of reaching God through an organization was missing a lot and causing a lot of problems. So there was a refocus on sort of direct connection. That's a very, very short version of it, but if there's some sense that you could give of that.
So our founder, Guru Nanak, was born in 1469, and he was born in a Hindu family. And it was a time where from Afghanistan and Iran, the rulers were kind of, there was a Lodi dynasty. It was also Muslim, but from a different part of the world. So there was a lot of peace in northern India, northwestern India, because they were ruling in a democratic way. But then came the invaders from Afghanistan and Iran and from those areas, and they basically kind of radicalized Islam in that area. And at the same time, the Hindu religious classes and the chiefly classes, there's a very strict caste system in there, had kind of made pockets on who has what rights in society. Guru Nanak came he did not have a guru and not have a teacher, but he had similar thought, like there were other either from the Sikh or Hindu or the Muslim faith. They were very open thinkers. Kabir, Baba Farid, and then came Guru Nanak, born in a Hindu family, and he saw everything that was going on, and he, that's what our belief is, that he was our first guru. He came with a mission. He was a messenger of God, and he, how he got that divine power and divine knowledge and how he shared it was through telling people what is the real purpose of that ritual you're doing, where only a boy can do that, or a boy from a priestly class can do it, or a girl cannot do that, or a boy or somebody from a lower class cannot do that, caste cannot do that. And he was explaining, and Amandeep, what the things he talked about is the, sharing what you, and what Bob also asked, sharing with others. We call it Vanda Chako. Eat after you've shared with somebody. After, share first. And then remember God in all your actions, whether you're sitting here doing something, working, riding a bike. In the back of your mind, be thankful for that God is taking care of, and have the faith He'll take care of you. He'll take care of everyone. And work hard, work truthfully. And when He brought these things of people could understand these philosophies, these principles, and started working on them. And then they started to, okay, this religion was saying, okay, you cannot pray, or you cannot wear a turban on your head, or your children cannot study in that school. And people started to now follow Guru Nanak. We're saying everyone is equal. Sit and eat together, like Amandeep said. So you have to eat langar together, right? You have to share with everyone. So when people started to see the benefits of how they were learning and how they were progressing, that's how the community developed.
All right.
So that's all. And then obviously 500 years, other gurus, and then how the message manifested in the holy Granth, which is our everlasting divine guru, our 10th after our 10th guru. That is installed in all our gurdwaras. That guru, the holy book, the Guru Granth Sahib, is what we bow to collectively as our guru. And I have always been, whenever I've been to any small or large Quaker event, always learned a lot of things, how open Quakers are, and so I had not taught something, I can't remember now, but I was one of my friends in a Quaker interfaith group here I was part of. They were teaching something about Sikhism to their children just to make them diverse. And I had not learned that part about Sikhism, and they had done that. So I was, and that whole concept of sitting together and just feeling the divine connection is very powerful. So thank you again for doing this and having me speak, and obviously Amandeep.
We extend an open invitation to Amandeep and to Sher Singh to join us at the Providence Meeting House when we open up again. It may be a little while yet, but I'm thrilled and very thankful that you both accepted this invitation to join us on, for us, a 20-year anniversary of a very serious incident, and very serious incident to you, Sher Singh.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you very, very much.
Yeah, really, thank you very, very much. And thank you so much. I learned a lot about Quaker faith. I didn't know about that before. That's my limited knowledge again. But we'll definitely looking forward to meet you whenever you open. And also, as always, our thoughts and prayers for September 11 victims.
Thank you, Amandeep.
Right.
Thank you, Sher Singh.
Thank you.
Yes.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Thanks so much. Bye.